As we celebrate Women's History Month today, we're happy to be joined by Dr. Pamela Puryear. She's the Executive Vice President and Global Chief Human Resources Officer for Walgreens. Dr. Puryear, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And happy International Women's Month.
It's a wonderful month. We need to celebrate each and every day.
Exactly. That's what I say. That's what I say. We just did a story a few seconds ago. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, on the Walgreens Expressions Challenge. And that is so wonderful. And it makes you realize that Walgreens is a lot more than just buying your prescriptions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What has the success been for the Expressions Challenge for you guys and just for children or teenagers across the globe?
It's been a wonderful opportunity for us to share, as you said, that we're much more than an organization that provides prescriptions and obviously all of the wonderful retail. It's an opportunity for us to really connect with communities and engage in that manner.
And Doctor, being a woman of color in such a prestigious position, how have you helped to change Walgreens as far as inclusivity and diversity?
Well, I think that part of what I've tried to do is really just be an example, to be a role model for what success can look like for women and for people of color. And I've really used a lot of my time over the last 6 weeks between International Women's Month, as you said, and also Black History Month, to talk about what it means to be fearless as you're pursuing your dreams and building your career. So I've really been encouraging women and people of color broadly to really be bold and be brave and take risks in their career, as I believe I have over time.
What are some of the challenges that you faced in the corporate world?
Yeah, so there are any number of challenges that all people face, not just women and people of color. I've really tried to pursue my career despite the many challenges and understand that there are always people out there who are there to support me. And I've really tried to cultivate what I've called a very diverse board of directors that helps me make the difficult decisions when I'm faced with challenges in order to help me figure out how to proceed. And even as I was joining Walgreens Boots Alliance just very recently, I've only been here for 2 months, I consulted a very broad board of directors that included women executives, Black female executives that look like me, who might view the world as I do, but also sought advice from other people that might have a different perspective that might be helpful to me. So spoke to 2 white male CHROs who had experience being CHROs at companies like Walgreens Boots Alliance. Sought advice from a spiritual advisor as I was thinking about making my decisions. And even my 2 teenage nieces, one of whom, by the way, is named Micah.
Oh!
So despite whatever challenges might be out there, whatever some of the things are that we might face as women, particularly and people of color, I just try to focus on where is the support coming from and how can I continue to build a network and a community around me that will help me continue to succeed and advance and put myself in a position where I can give back to others and where I can be a role model as we started this conversation.
Yeah, support system is so important. Let's talk a little bit about this vaccine and the vaccine rollout. I know Walgreens is very much involved in that, but we still have people of color who are hesitant. I talked to someone today in his 60s. He says he got up there, they were about to put it in his arm, he said, nope, I'm not going to do it. Should people be afraid to get the vaccine?
People absolutely should not be afraid to take the vaccine, and Walgreens is doing excellent work to try to get the word out to communities, particularly communities of people of color who might be particularly hesitant to move forward with the vaccine. But the science tells us that this is a very safe vaccine, and I'm encouraging everyone to go out there when you are eligible and have the opportunity to get the vaccine, to take the opportunity to take it.
And people should know they're not putting the disease in your body with this vaccine.
That is correct. They are putting something in your body that's going to prevent you from contracting the disease.
And as far as any side effects, that's a good thing if you get a side effect, because it shows that your body is fighting off the disease, right?
That's exactly what's happening. And, people have varying accounts of what happens when they get the vaccine. Some people feel absolutely no side effects, but it is still absolutely doing what it's supposed to do. And other people, particularly on the vaccines where there are 2 doses, some are finding that second dose is a little bit more challenging. but they absolutely, it's doing what it's supposed to do, even if you feel a little bit of a side effect.
Thank you, Dr. Puryear. Now, here's a saying, if you see it, you can be it. People looking at you see that you have accomplished quite a bit. Do you think that this is great to have images of African American women, people of color, men and women, for kids coming up to show that they can be it?
Absolutely. You know, I think part of why I'm so pleased to be recognized by the Diverse Woman magazine as one of the Elite 100 is just for that reason, so that people can look up and see that there are people that look like them who have been able to attain some level of success and able to have a positive impact in their chosen field and in their communities. And when I think about my own career, it's been such a nonlinear career. It's been very zigzag. I haven't followed a corporate ladder.
Yeah.
I want for people to see that as well, that there's no one way to attain success. In fact, there are many ways, and on this list, there are 100 different ways for people to attain success. And so that's a message that I try to put out there, that there's no one way to succeed. There are many, many paths, and you need to follow your own path to achieve your dreams.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much. Be safe, be well. Dr. Pamela Puryear.
Thank you so much.
Take
My
care.
pleasure.